Welcome back. This particular segment on disability and education will focus on accommodations within the K through 12 system. As I mentioned before, accommodations are generally determined within the child's individualized education plan, the meeting that's held where the various professionals come around and meet with the parents and talk about what needs to be done.
Accommodations are provided when barriers cannot be reduced. It helps the child accomplish or work around his or her disability.
But I will tell you, and this is an unusual thing, and I think throws a number of families as we think about education, that when we think about this, the child has to have the educational impact from the disability. If that child is functioning at a very high level, if they're at grade level, they're not going to qualify for the same level of services, if at all, than if they were functioning lower. And so the point is that if you have a disability, you may be, at some level, undereducated simply because you're smart enough to be able to get the access you need to pass the classes, get good grades, but yet not be truly maximized. When we think about accommodations within the K through 12 system, accommodations are really fairly comprehensive. Accommodations can vary from meeting with a speech pathologist to a school counselor to a psychologist to a audiologist to any number of professionals who might be involved with the school. The child's plan, depending upon what he or she needs, can include any of those kinds of related services. It can include supports within the classroom in terms of maybe having an aide or an interpreter. It can include technology. Accommodations aren't meant to provide unfair advantage. They're meant to level the playing field. Accommodations are meant to provide equal access. And that when we think about accommodations, that the schools themselves are the ones who are required to pay for that. I was doing some traveling last year and was in a less well-developed country, and they had no laws regarding education. And was talking to one of the families about their children, and they had a very, very bright daughter, had made it through school, but she had CP, and the high school was not accessible. And so within their situation, they had to, at the family's expense, build the ramp, widen the restroom so that their daughter could go to high school, graduate, and now subsequently go on to college. Within the U.S., those things hopefully would have been handled differently. But as we think worldwide, there's lots of barriers for children to access school. So as we come back to end this particular segment, and thinking about the elementary school, junior high school kind of age, understand that within that particular environment, there's a focus on identifying the students who are at risk or who are falling behind. The schools take care of the evaluation and assessment of the child. There's a staffing where people get together and discuss the child's strengths and areas of needed support. A plan is put together. So as you think of this as it exists for the child and the family, it's kind of a case management approach that everybody is having their say and having involvement, and a plan comes out of it that subsequently, hopefully, gets implemented with those approved accommodations within the child's classroom and school environment. So as we move on to our next segment is going to kind of highlight some of the challenges that are faced in the provision of really strong supportive services for students with disabilities.